everybody. I see you all coming in, and I may need you to move my slides. Okay. So hi, everybody. I saw a note on the chat that Ellen said, welcome to the webinar. So I also want to echo that and welcome you. Some of you have known of us because you have worked with us in prior years. And some of you are new to us. So welcome to all of you. I know that this is a stressful time, and we're here to help you. We have 30 minutes together. I have reviewed the questions that you kindly submitted before the webinar as you register, and I very much appreciate that because it gives me an idea as to the questions that you have. Some of you have the same questions, which makes it easier. And I also have thought of some of those already as I go through the presentation. So a few kind of little rules. If you have questions that are general, not a specific case questions, as I'm going through this, you can use the chat box. Sometimes I have people on the Q&A and some people in the chat, and just to make it simple, just use the chat. I have two of my amazing team members here with me. So Ellen is an immigration paralegal, and she is managing the chat, and also Danny, who's our legal immigration assistant. They're both on the chat to help make this easy for all of us, okay? My name is Giselle Carson. I'm the lead immigration attorney at the firm, and I am also an immigrant. I was born in Cuba, immigrated to Canada, became a Canadian citizen, so I went through the whole process up there, and then came to the United States on a work visa, became a legal permanent resident, and I have been a US citizen for many years. So I have been where you are. I understand the anxiety, the complexity, and all that is at stake when you're through this process. If there is something that I can tell you, no matter what you do, it is going to be a long process. Unfortunately, there is very few fast tracks, and even those that supposedly are fast tracks don't end up being fast tracks. So we're here to help you go through the journey with us. We've got your back. So let's begin with what are we going to be talking about. And I've actually divided the presentation into three main sections. Again, we're doing this for 30 minutes. So 10 minutes or so each to cover the basics of H1B and the cap and the lottery, okay? Without this, ladies, we couldn't be here. So Danny and Ellen are on the back screen helping us with this webinar. Tyra is actually working on some H1B caps right now. So she's also our immigration paralegal. So thank you, ladies, for doing what you do for all of us. So the H1B Basics and the cap. Some of you are very familiar with the H1B cap because you went through it last year. Some of you, this is brand new. So I'm going to try to make it a balance, give a balanced approach to this. And I'm also going to be kind of looking at the chat just in case there's anything there. But basics, some people ask, what does it take to qualify? Well, most of you probably would qualify because you have a US bachelor's degree or their equivalent or higher. So a master's degree, a bachelor's degree. So basically, USCIS looks at what is a specialty occupation, and in layman terms, a specialty occupation is a professional occupation, something that requires a bachelor's degree or higher to perform the duties of the position. With that said, one of the latest trends have been that you have to show via a project or something that your educational background, the courses that you took through your bachelor's degree or through your master's degree allow you to perform the duties of the profession. And for those of you that are selected under the lottery, we will be working with you on how to prove that. Some of you ask, what do we need to do? That is something, but again, I'm just giving you the big picture. Don't overthink this. It's an employer-based visa. Sometimes I ask, well, can I sponsor myself? You cannot. It's employer-based. It's a non-immigrant visa, meaning that it doesn't lead straight to a green card. It has a maximum validity of 3 years with a potential extension for another 3, a total of 6. Yes, there is a way to go beyond 6, but that's beyond the content of this webinar. I will be doing more of these, so you will be learning with us as we go through the process. One thing that is unique to the H's that none of the other visas have, work visas, is a labor condition application that is filed with the Department of Labor before the H1B can be filed. So this is something that we have to time into the process. Then we have the fiscal year, and some of you asked about the cap gap, and I am going to be addressing the cap gap because what happens is the H1B visas become available in April 1st, but really they don't become active, meaning that you do not get H1B status until October 1st. So what happens if your OPT ends in July? We're going to talk about that. And then the spouse and unmarried children under 21 can also apply for H4 status when you get your H1B status as part of your H1B package. The cap and the lottery. Unfortunately, we have a cap for work visas for professionals like you that are in the United States, that, well, some are not, but majority of our clients are in the United States. They are working for an employer like you. They potentially are an OPT EAD or OPT STEM or some other visa, and they have been offered a job that is a professional job that qualifies for an H1B. And what has happened, gosh, I can't even remember the last new H1B that I filed without having to go through a lottery, which is pretty sad. It's sad because we need you, and our Congress has not seen this as a priority. So what we're dealing with is a cap, a maximum amount of H1B visas that can be given every year for the first time. 65 are regular H1B caps. So anyone with a bachelor's or a master's degree could apply for those. And then if you have a U.S. master's degree, then there is another 20,000 that is specifically reserved for those with the U.S. master's degree. So a total of 85,000 that become available in April and become active October 1st, okay? Because every year for the last, say, 10 years, we have had more applicants than there are visas available. What has happened is that the government conducts a lottery. It is electronic lottery, and there really isn't anything extraordinary that you can do. That was a lot of the questions that I received is, what can we do to make sure that we qualify? What can we make sure that we get selected? This is kind of as true as a lottery as it gets. So things that people read on the internet, if you use premium processing, you're going to get better chances, or if you're a particular profession, or if you're from a certain country, or none of that really makes a difference at the lottery stage. Okay, the petitions, the only difference, the only thing that could potentially make a difference is that you don't file timely. And that is why we are proactively working, and that's why your employers have had some of you attend this webinar, because we want to make sure that things are being done as proactively as possible, that you are as comfortable as possible with this process, And the more you know, the more comfortable you are, and the more ready you are to help, because I see this as teamwork. There's things that we do. So think of a three-legged stool. There's the employer and they have their role. There's us and we have our role, and there's you and you have your role. And if any one of those is not in balance, we have a problem, okay? So that's how we work these cases. We work them proactively, and that is why we get our petitions filed in time and we get our petitions fully prepared so that you have the best chances in the lottery process. So the lottery, some people ask, you know, what happens, how the U.S. Masters are elected. Over the last 3 years, maybe 2, and this is going to be the third, the way their master's degrees are selected is everybody. So imagine 300,000 registrations going into USCIS. That's what happened last year. And each one of those gets a number, 31, 200, 500, whatever. They all get put through a lottery, and then the numbers come out. Give me 10, give me 15, give me 2. And those are the first 65,000 that get selected. And then those say that have a red mark on it, those are the U.S. master's degrees. So those master's degrees that are not selected under the general cap, the 65,000, have their own little lottery apart. And that's how the 20,000 get selected. In practice, those with the U.S. Masters have a higher chance of being selected under the lottery, except for last year. So last year was a unique year. Actually, I should say every year is a unique year, because every year we face something that no one knows or is different. And that's why being very proactive is essential. Last year, what happened is that some people, employers, sold H1B visa registrations to foreign nationals that were desperate, and those foreign nationals bought those, bought their way into the lottery, which is totally anti-American. I haven't heard anything yet. Another question that was asked is like, is there a difference? So far, and this is January 27th, we haven't heard anything yet from USCIS of upcoming changes for the lottery. So as it stands today, and we are alert every single day as to any potential changes, what we expect that will happen this year is something very similar as to what happened last year. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about next. Any questions so far? You have been very quiet. I hope you are paying attention. I don't see anything in the chat. Are you listening? Is this helpful in some way or degree? I'm looking at the chat and see if I see any sign of life on the other side. Yes, no, helpful. Thank you, I appreciate it. Do you know how difficult it is to be on the other side of this and not have anyone talk to you, smile I do? Thank you. All right. So thanks for that smile. I appreciate it. All right. So this is what happened. Yay. Love you guys. Okay. Now I got a very long question. So hopefully Ellen can read that and maybe ask, or maybe Ellen put that in there. I don't know. So let me just kind of tell you what happened last year. No, this is a question based on the slide. And after 3 lotteries selected, blah, blah, blah. Why is, okay, very good question. Yes. Okay, this is a very good question. Good for you. So I'll try to answer that one. All right. So this is what happened last year. Okay, we have our regular lottery, first one in March. Again, as I said to you, there is 85,000 total. USCIS typically selects more, always on the first selection of caps. When the notices are issued, they always select more than 85,000. That's why we have the 87.5. Okay, because there's going to be rejections, because there's going to be people that didn't submit what they were supposed to submit, because there is going to be people. In fact, anyway, I'm not going to go into some of the crazy filings that I've seen that people have put forward. I'm like, yeah, stuff gets denied. So USCIS knows that, and they accommodate for that. So they select a few more than what they're supposed to. So in this case, 2,500 more. And then they got to July and they realized, oh my God, I have 25,000 out of those 87,500 that we selected that they didn't file, we denied, they didn't send the proper stuff, they didn't file timely, all kinds of things. So now we have, and remember that I said to you that there are people that bought their way into the lottery. And so there were, sadly, again, some foreign nationals and some employers, whatever, that the same person was put into the lottery 3 times. Well, they cannot have 3 jobs. So at the end of the day, some people may have been selected twice. So they could, or one of the jobs didn't happen because it didn't exist. All kinds of things, all kinds of reasons why this year, again, was very unique. So in July, we ended up with 27,000 more petitions or registrations that were available. So they did the second lottery. And I was thrilled because this second lottery to me was a lot more real than the first lottery, because we actually got a lot more candidates selected on the second lottery than we got on the first, even though the numbers were lesser. But those registrations obviously were good. So anyway, we got those, we got a lot of people selected there. And then we thought, okay, we're done. USCIS didn't say anything. There was no news. There was no marketing advertising, nothing, absolutely nothing. All of a sudden in November, now they realize, oh my God, we still have 6,000 or so petitions out there that we have not given out. They're under a significant pressure, and I'm glad that they are, to make sure that they utilize every H1B visa that is available. So they, out of the blue, went out and did a third lottery. Again, this has never happened before. They did it, and I'm glad they did, because I also had some clients, some registered foreign nationals like you, that were selected under that lottery. So we got last year people selected on all 3 lotteries. Again, when I said to you, it's a complex process, it's an uncertain process. It's really sad that you, us, your employers, have to go through all of this, but it's the system we have, and we'll work with you and everyone that we work with to make this as seamless as possible. So going to the question of how come at the end of the day, the total number of registrations selected were 121,900 versus, the possible 85,000. And the reason between those 2 numbers is because, again, petitions get rejected, people don't file that were supposed to file, petitions get denied, all kinds of things. So at the end of the day, if your petition is properly filed, timely filed, has the stuff that needs to have, you are in a very good position, a better position than most anyway, to be one of those 121 that gets into the lottery. The other question that was asked here is about the nonprofits. And so that's another, the H1B comes in many varieties. And one of those varieties is, institutions of higher education. We work with institutions of higher education. And there are them and others, that a very, 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 very tiny group that are able under the law to file H1Bs without going under the cap. And I'm not going to go further into this because it's very complex, and I'm not going to get through the stuff that most of you want to know about. Okay. So this, at least I got a lot of questions about the cap and how it works. So that's where I went into the detail in the questions that were pre-submitted. That's where I went through all of this. Okay, I got a lot of questions too about the timing of all this thing. We start working with you guys right now. In fact, probably in February, many of you that are on this call that are our clients are going to be working either with Tyra or with Ellen on the preparation, the documents, the foundational documents we call it, and I'll go through that list. Then what happens is we will register you in March. I try not to, so the registration period is typically open from say March 1st to March 25th or 20th or something. I do not rush to register you on the first day or the second or the third, because everybody does that. I've been doing this for long enough that I know that whatever issues are going to happen at the beginning and then they get solved. And I want your case is to come in after someone else try whatever was going to crush the system. So it is not first come, first serve. It's you just have to file within that time period, and we will. So we'll prepare the file. We will register you. Really, you don't have to do a lot. A lot of the work is us and your employers. And then the registration period closes. It hasn't been announced yet when that's going to be, but it's typically end of March. And then typically on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, USCIS conducts the lottery. And somewhere over the weekend, you may get an email from a friend saying, "Oh my God, the lottery was happened." It's just, that's how it happens. And then USCIS may say, we receive whatever many applications. Quite often, because there's been so much chaos with all of this, they don't. They just say, we've conducted the lottery. And then we don't get what is going to happen, because many of you are going to be emailing me or us when you hear that the registration happened or the lottery happened, or you will get an email from us saying, you know, USCIS has conducted the registration or has conducted the lottery, I'm sorry. Their systems cannot advise everybody at the same time that they were selected. So what happens is the notices of registration selection trickle in. And frankly, they trickle in at all hours of the day, over the weekend, on Monday morning. So please just relax. We most likely, well, typically the practice has been we let your employer know, and actually your employer gets a notice, and it's a very weird notice. Half of the time you kind of go, because they have to go into the USCIS database and look at everybody that is registered under the company to decide who was selected. So it's not an easy process. And what we do, will the people who were selected be notified? Well, no, good question. And the reason is, remember, last year, we had a lottery in November. So this is something very unique to this registration process, that now you could be selected in November. So the first group knows, that the 87,000 of you guys will know, and girls, will know that you were selected during the first lottery. But then your number stays in the lottery all the way until they conduct the last one, which typically is before October. So so there's no notification that you were not selected, typically ever. What happens is your number or your registration basically changes in November, or whenever the last lottery happens, to say status. I can't remember what it is, but it's something that basically means you were not selected. But again, my point to all of you with this registration and the selection. Okay, so Ellen, thank you. Again, don't go panicking. We will be doing other seminars for those that were selected, just similar to this, as to what needs to happen. We will do a webinar as to you were not selected, what needs to happen or what could happen. And we will also work with you and your employer individually as to what options you potentially have. In the meantime, right now, I'm a big believer on positive mental mindset. So I'm wishing good luck to every one of you, and that you're going to be working with us. So this is kind of the biggest thing: preparation, registration, lottery. If you're selected, then we do the rest of the flow chart in here. Okay, I've almost covered a lot of this stuff. Registration March 1st to the 20th or so. Okay, somebody asked about passports and OPT and stamps, so I'm going to very quickly go through this. Your passports need to be valid when I register you in March, okay? So if any of you, one of the things that you need to do after this webinar is go look at your passport. Believe me, I just had to renew my US passport last year in the middle of the pandemic. Make sure that your passport is valid. Somebody asked, well, what if my passport expires after I register? We'll register with the passport that you have that is valid, most likely, obviously. So when we register you, you will have one passport. And maybe when we file the petition, that's the passport that's still valid, and that's what we would use. But in the meantime, go ahead and renew, make sure that you have at least a valid passport for registration and for when we file if you get selected. Another question that get asked a lot is, well, I qualify for a STEM. Should I apply? Should I not apply? Quick answer for you is, if you qualify for a STEM, that's an amazing gift that the powers have given to you. Take it, because as you will learn as we go through these lectures, it is essential that you take every opportunity to stay work authorized and legal. Okay. Premium process registration is not even available. It doesn't increase your chances. So don't go crazy over that. I got a lot of questions about travel. As long as you travel, and if you have a travel valid visa and work, whatever, that you can come in and out, you can go, and you can go until March. Once we register you and you're in that registration process, my recommendation, a strong recommendation, is that you do not travel. I mean, I say this every year, and every year I get people, well, somebody's getting married or whatever. It's your future. Your H1B petition most likely would be filed as change of status, meaning that you need to be in the United States to change status, not abroad. And this is a unique time for you and your career. So hold travel. That's kind of my rule on travel. We talked a lot about their selection process, so I'm not going to, you will get the slides and you will also get the recording. So this one, I kind of cover a lot as I talked about other things. Cap gap and employment. So I got some questions about cap gap, and I only have 3 minutes left. So what happens with the cap gap? Registration or selection, registration happens in March, selection or filing begins in April. Say that you have your OPT end date is June 1st. So your employment authorized until June 1st. You were selected, we file an H1B petition for you. And this is something that I'm going to tell all of you. You're all going to want your petition to be filed first. It is not first in, first out. It is a filing period of 90 days, okay? And we will file you all within those 90 days. But we'll have to be kind to each other. And the ones that I have to give preference to is those of you that have an OPT end date of June 1st, say. Because what happens is, for you, you will, if you're selected and we file before your EAD ends, then you and your employer will benefit from this cap gap, meaning that your employment authorization document is automatically extended all the way through September. What a gift is that, okay? And I want everyone to take advantage of that can. So when we receive the list of those that are going to be, from our clients, our employers, your employers, who's going to go through the lottery, the first thing that we look at is who is going to benefit from cap gap, because those are the ones that we have to address first. Because otherwise, if we file them last, they will not have the opportunity to continue to work. Those of you that have continuing work authorization through past October, believe me, we will get you in and you will be just fine. But again, we have to be kind to each other and you know, be flexible through this whole process. Okay. CPT, OPT, STEM. Most of you know about CPT, OPT, STEM, OPT. Many of you are also going to be asking me, if you don't get selected, about day one CPT. I have done a video about day one CPT. I have done frequently asked questions about day one CPT. If you do not get selected, we will address day one CPT with you guys. So I'm going to hold that. I already talked about the cap gap benefit for the OPT. So we will work with you so that you get advantage of that. And I already reminded you that if you have the ability to apply for STEM, please do that. Okay. Travel, I already talked about it. My recommendation is no travel. And even if you get selected and your H1B gets approved, so after H1B change your status approval and after October 1st, yes, you can travel, but remember that you will need to cancel or process your H1B visa to come back into the United States. So many that were selected last year and wanted to go to India or China, wanted to go home for the holidays, did not go because they couldn't get an appointment. The consulates were closed. And if they left, they couldn't come back in. So keep that in mind. And again, this is the slide I will come back. All right. Some of you know me. I'm a runner. I'm a marathoner. I'm a triathlete. I'm on the road a lot. And I've learned to pay attention to the cars that pass me, what is on the sidelines and all that kind of stuff. And I also read the signs, but I also read what's happening in reality, okay? So runners move to the side of the road when a vehicle approaches. And look at the beauty. And I know some of you are not in Florida, so this is a very unique scenario for you, but it does happen in Florida. The reason this slide is here is because, again, I know this is a very anxiety-driven process. It's scary. It's your life and your careers. You will get stuff on the internet, or you will actually Google and penalize yourself and torture yourself by going on the internet and reading whatever else everybody's saying. Please, please, please. You can do that. We all do it. But do not assume that what you're reading is true. Okay? There's tons of stuff out there that you just have to look at the gators on the side of the road and say, I don't think I'm going to go there. That doesn't apply to me. Okay. We have been doing what we're doing now. I have for the last 15 years. And your employers are working with us because they trust us. We have been working with them for a number of years. So I'm fine with you reading things online, but do not panic and do not email us about, oh, my friend, blah, blah, blah. Your case is very specific. Every case is very specific. We will be working with you to make sure that you have the best case possible going forward. Okay, that's what we do. And again, remember those three-leg stool. You have your role, we have ours, employers have theirs. Together, we make it happen. We're successful. Okay. Because I want to make sure that this are good for you, and I've already granted you another 3 minutes. Danny is going to send you a link, a survey right now. You're going to be getting it. Let us know what you think about this information. Was it helpful? You knew all of it and not interesting, whatever it is. I'm also asking you on the survey if this, so Danny just put the survey, thank you. I'm also asking you, I know there's a lot of information. I know there's a lot on everybody's head. If this is helpful, and if you feel that there is more things that I could talk to you about, that you will benefit from me doing something like this again, February 10th, same time, half an hour, 2 o'clock. And you can send me when you register, you can send me the questions like you did before. I know there was a few in here that I do not address. For example, I have H1B renewal process. Well, that's awesome, but I'm not going to be talking about the renewal process. But there was a few other things here that I did not get a chance to address because they're much later in the process. But if you think this is helpful and you would want me to do another one 30 minutes, 2 weeks from now, I'm happy to do that for you. Okay. So let us know in the survey. And if the majority of you say yes, we will do it. And when you register, you send us questions. Okay, this is us. We are here for you. We are grateful to have you in our country. We are grateful for the opportunity to bring light and a path to opportunities to you. Like I said, many of us have been through that process, or our families have. And we just love, love, love the opportunity to do this for you. I tell my team all the time, and everyone that can hear me, I think I have the most amazing clients in the world, and we are so fortunate to be working with you. So thank you for being with us today. Again, I hope this was helpful. Send me some goodbyes on the screen. And if you want to do this again, I'll be here for you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.